So you want to transform your language teaching from a side gig into a main job. That is an excellent thing to want because that is going to give you a degree of financial, geographical, and professional freedom that is excellent. I'm not going to lie to you, it is a very good life. But in order to do that correctly, there are some things we need to do. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about three of them. And why should you listen to me? Because I have been a language teacher for 9 years and I have been an independent language teacher for 4 years. By independent language teacher, I mean that I do not teach in an English school. I teach by myself with my students 100% online. So I do not have to be anywhere to do my job. I actually can be anywhere and still do my job. I do not have to answer to anyone. I can do everything the way I want, and that has been very fruitful to me. And I want to share a little bit of that knowledge with you. In order to accomplish that, this independence, to become a full-time language teacher, the first thing you're gonna have to do is save money. You are going to have to save money for two main reasons. The first reason to save money is so that you have some leeway to experiment. Sometimes we think we want some things. You may think you want to be a language teacher, but perhaps that is not the exact job for you. You're only going to be able to find that out by experimentation. So you want to save as much money as you can. Even right now, as a language teaching as a side gig, you work your ass off teaching and in any other job you might have so that you can save up to 6 months worth of living expenses. Once you have that, you are going to be able to dedicate entirely to language teaching for a period of time without worrying about the immediate results. When we can do something without the necessity of having results as soon as possible, we remove a lot of the stress associated with the profession. And then you're going to be able to look at it with a clear eye and see if that's what you really want. You're going to be able to experiment a lot. That 6 months of living expenses saved is what people call financial freedom. You are able to experiment. You can do this because you are not worrying about the money right now. You do not have to live paycheck to paycheck once you do that. It is a fantastic feeling. So you're going to start doing this to experiment as a language teacher, and I hope to God this becomes a habit to you because it's fantastic to have like a huge amount of money saved in case you want or need to do anything, like experiment as a language teacher. But that was only the first reason. The second reason why you want to save money is because you want to have some cushion, some leeway until your language teaching gains traction, right? Look, once we start teaching, we're not going to have all the students right away. We might need some time until we get enough students to start and be able to pay our bills by teaching language alone. So if you have that money saved, again, you can focus on your craft very slowly, very thoroughly, and do things the right way without the immediate need for the short-term result. You're going to give yourself the time you need to become a better language teacher before you start living off of that entirely. So save some money. When I say 6 months worth of living expenses, that is a minimum, okay? If you can do more, do more. And of course, if you do save that money and you want to live a little bit more like me, for example, you can travel around while you teach, that extra saved money is going to help you with that a lot as well, in case you need to pay for an Airbnb or in case you want to take some opportunity you have recently gotten. So yeah, this is financial freedom and that is going to be very useful to you. The second thing you want to do is to start taking things more seriously. And by that, I mean the following. When we are teaching language as a side gig, it is very common for us to not keep a tight control of our finances and our students. So when I taught English and I had my mind on something else, I would keep control of all my students only in WhatsApp. Maybe you do that in any text app you have. Maybe you do not know exactly how much money you are making from language teaching right now, how much you made last month, and how much you're going to make next month. Perhaps you are not sure what you taught a student last class, and you do not know what you're going to do with them on the next class. Because since it's just a side gig, you do not give it much thought. And that is problematic because once you have to keep remembering stuff, oh, what did I teach that guy? What am I going to do with him next class? You're using precious mental energy to remember stuff that should be automatic. And then you are not going to have that energy when you have to do stuff that actually matters, like creating classes, like developing new strategies for teaching, like trying to acquire new students. So all of that needs to be very tight and certain so that you can spend your mental energy where it is the most important, where you're going to get the highest return. There is a financial term people use, right? It's called ROI. That means return on investment. So you want to put your mental energy where you're going to have the highest ROI. That is not possible if you have to try and keep remembering little stuff here and there every day. So you want to have tight control on your finances, know exactly how much you make and how much you're spending. You want to know exactly how many students you have, what is your plan with them, what have you been teaching them, what are you going to teach them next class. You also want to know the exact time of all your classes. You should have a very clear schedule or an agenda that you can follow and see when you're going to have some classes. It has happened to me that I forgot sometimes when I had to teach a class because I kept record in my mind. And that, as I just told you, that is a terrible strategy. Not only do I spend precious mental energy, but our memories are also notoriously prone to failure. And so it is going to fail, and it's not going to be nice, neither for you, neither your student. So if you want to transform language teaching from a side gig into an actual craft that you want to hone, you need to take these little details seriously and systematize everything. And the third thing you want to do to hone your craft more is improve yourself in 3 different ways. You want to improve as a person, as a teacher, and as a language learner. I say improve as a person first because everything you do to improve as a person is going to positively affect your language teaching as a side effect. For example, when you get a grip on your sleep, for example, you are going to improve the quality of your teaching because you are going to be more well rested. You are going to have a good night's sleep, and so you're going to have a lot of energy and a lot of mental energy to do your job. So that is fantastic. When you start to eat healthy food, so when you stop eating junk food, when you stop drinking those dumb drinks like energy drinks, alcohol, or soda, your body is gonna feel better, and a healthy mind needs a healthy body to work properly. You are gonna find that once you start treating your body right, once you start putting the correct fuel into your body, remember, you are what you eat, your teaching is going to improve because you're going to be better as a person. That also works for exercising. When you exercise, you have more energy, you sleep better at night, and everything is tied up together. When you start doing those 3 things, sleep well, eat well, and exercise, your teaching is going to improve as a side effect. And you're going to have other side effects too. You're going to look better as well. And then you are going to have more energy for everything else in your life. It's fantastic. So just do it. And you have to improve as a teacher as well, because since you're taking this seriously and you want to become a professional language teacher, you need to always be improving as a teacher. And by that, I mean that you have to read books on language teaching. You have to watch videos like this one of other language teachers telling you about their experiences so that you can try and apply that when you are teaching and see what works best for you. You should have different strategies for teaching the same thing because every student you get is different. And when you have a nice arsenal of different strategies to use, you are going to be able to adapt better to every student you get. And that is super important. But that requires study, that requires reading, that requires taking up courses, for example, spending some time on YouTube and finding good language teachers so that you can be inspired by them and so that you can get some strategies too. So that is super important. Don't even forget that you are a professional teacher, and teaching is different from just knowing a language. You have to hone that craft. Remember, that's what we want to do. We want to be nerds, not only about language, but also about teaching. You want to know the different types of students that are. You want to know the differences between male and female students, because there are many differences and you have to treat them differently. They have different struggles and different strengths. You have to know all that so that you can do your job better. That's why you need to improve as a teacher, as a professional teacher, so that you can do everything well. And then the final improvement is as a language learner. Look, I have been speaking English for more than 10 years now, so I do not quite remember what it was like to have difficulty with some stuff. I do not remember learning the present perfect. I do not remember struggling to do the TH sound, for example. I mean, this sound over here. It has been a long time. So if I do not know what it's like to struggle with pronunciation, I am going to have less empathy with more students, with my students. I'm going to have less empathy, less connection with them. You do not want that. So you should be learning other languages constantly so that you are constantly struggling with pronunciations, with preposition, with different verbs, with flexing the verbs in the past, in the future, in the present, so that you never forget what it's like to be a student. So you are constantly in your student's shoes. It's very easy to forget what it's like to be a student, and a teacher who forgets that becomes a worse teacher, invariably. The teacher who forgets this starts to do everything in a very robotic, automatic way, and they lose that special connection that there can be between a student and a teacher. So never stop learning. You should strive to be a polyglot. Only one language doesn't cut it. Be constantly learning. You do not have to have huge objectives like you had for the first second language that you learned, but you should be learning others constantly, so you never forget what it's like to be a student. So there you go. That's what you have to do to transform language teaching from a side gig into a full-blown profession. You need to save the money, you need to take your job seriously, and you need to improve yourself, both personally, professionally, and as a learner. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I have to tell you all that YouTube jazz, right? So leave a like so I know you're out there, and subscribe to the video so you do not miss my next upload. And as always, let's make a living out of language.